I don't think I'll ever forgive my sister for what she did while I was sick. And before anyone thinks I'm exaggerating, let me make this clear. I had a real, documented, serious illness. Not the kind of thing you can just walk off. Not something where people say, "Oh, it's just in your head." No, this was hospital visits, medications, tests, the whole 9 yards. And somehow, instead of being my support system, my sister decided that the best way to deal with it was to turn my entire life into one giant joke. Let me back up. Growing up, my sister and I were always close in age, but not necessarily close in personality. She was the loud one, the funny one, the one who could turn anything into a performance. If we were at a family barbecue, she'd be the one standing on a chair telling stories to a crowd, while I sat with a plate of potato salad trying to stay out of the sun. If we were at school, she was the one with dozens of friends, while I had maybe 2 or 3 people I really trusted. So, when I got diagnosed, I expected her to react the way she always did, with drama. But I didn't expect the drama to come at my expense. At first, it was little things. I remember the day I came home from the doctor, still trying to process the news. I was scared, I was exhausted, and my parents were hovering around me like I might break at any second. My sister? She walked in, saw me curled up on the couch, and said, "Wow, you look like the final boss in a zombie movie." Everyone laughed, except me. I tried to smile because that's what you do, right? You pretend it's fine. You tell yourself it's just a joke. But it didn't stop there. The jokes became constant. She'd imitate the way I walked when I was weak. She'd fake a coughing fit at dinner and then say, "Oops, guess I caught your disease." She even started making memes out of me, literal memes. She'd take pictures of me lying in bed, pale and drained, and then post them in group chats with captions like, "Current mood," "Being useless." People would laugh. Friends, cousins, even strangers online. And every time, I felt like a piece of me was being chipped away. I tried to confront her once. I said, "Why are you making fun of me? This isn't funny." And do you know what she said? She rolled her eyes and said, "Relax. Laughter is the best medicine. I'm helping you. Helping me." Like humiliating me in front of everyone was some kind of therapy session. It got worse when school got involved. Word spread that I was sick, and instead of defending me or even just keeping quiet, my sister leaned into it. She started telling people exaggerated stories about me fainting in the middle of class or pretending I had episodes where I couldn't think straight. She'd mimic me in front of her friends, wobbling around dramatically, clutching her chest. And when people laughed, she basked in it. She thrived on the attention. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. Not literally. Thank God my illness was manageable, but emotionally? I was drained. Every time I walked into a room, I wondered if people had heard the latest story my sister told about me. Every time my phone buzzed, I braced myself for another meme or inside joke that painted me as some weak, pathetic punchline. The real breaking point came at a family party. It was supposed to be a celebration, my cousin's graduation. I was already nervous about going because I didn't want to be the sick one in the corner. But I decided to show up anyway, put on a brave face, and try to enjoy myself. And then, during dinner, my sister stood up with a spoon against her glass. You know, the universal signal for, "I want everyone's attention." My stomach dropped. She said, "So, I thought it would be fun if we all played a game. It's called Guess If They're Sick or Just Lazy." And then she gestured at me, in front of our entire extended family. People laughed. Some laughed awkwardly, some laughed like they thought it was harmless. But I sat there, frozen, humiliated beyond words. That night, I broke. I went home, locked myself in my room, and cried harder than I had in years. I wasn't just sick, I was alone. The one person who should have had my back was the one who was tearing me down. It took me a long time to realize that what she was doing wasn't just teasing. It was cruelty. It was betrayal. And it left scars that went deeper than anything my illness ever did. Here's the thing, though. Karma is real. A year later, my sister went through her own rough patch. She had an injury that forced her to be on crutches for a few months. And do you know what happened? People laughed at her. They imitated her walk. They made jokes. And for the first time, she felt what I had felt. She came to me one night, tears in her eyes, and said, I finally get it. I'm sorry. And you know what? I didn't forgive her. Not right away. Maybe not ever, fully. Because some wounds don't heal with an apology. But what I did do was look her in the eye and say, now you know. And now you can choose to be better. We're not the same as we were before. There's a distance between us that wasn't there when we were kids. But maybe that's okay. Maybe boundaries are what keep us sane. Because here's what I've learned. Your family might be your blood, but that doesn't mean they're automatically your safe place. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit that out loud. After I shared what my sister put me through during my illness, I thought the story was over. Honestly, I thought that chapter of my life was closed. But if there's one thing I've learned about family, it's that nothing is ever really over. The past has a way of creeping back in when you least expect it. About a year after her apology, the one where she finally admitted she understood how cruel she'd been, our relationship was in this weird limbo. We weren't exactly close, but we weren't enemies either. It was like walking on eggshells all the time. She'd text me occasionally, send me memes, normal ones, not about me, or ask how I was feeling. And while part of me appreciated the effort, another part of me just couldn't forget. It's not easy to rebuild trust when the person who broke it was your own sister. The real test came when my health flared up again. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to knock me down for a few weeks. I was out of work, back on medication, and honestly, just struggling to keep my head above water. And this time, my sister showed up. Like, literally showed up at my door with a casserole, of all things. I remember opening the door and seeing her standing there awkwardly holding this Pyrex dish like she didn't know what to do with it. I figured you could use some actual food, she said. And listen, I wanted to roll my eyes. I wanted to say, oh, now you care? But I didn't. Because a part of me, a very tired part of me, wanted to believe that maybe she really was trying. Over the next few weeks, she did things I never expected. She drove me to a couple of appointments when I couldn't manage. She cleaned my kitchen one afternoon when she saw I was too exhausted. She even sat with me during a particularly rough day and just listened. No jokes, no memes, no side comments. Just sat there. It should have felt healing, right? Like the start of something new. But here's the problem. Every kind gesture came with a shadow. I couldn't stop thinking about the past. I couldn't stop hearing her voice mocking me, replaying all those years of humiliation in my head. And then it happened. One afternoon, she came over again. We were sitting in the living room, half watching some cooking show, when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smirked, and started typing quickly. My gut told me something was off. Call it trauma, call it instinct. But I asked, what's funny? She froze. Just for a second, but long enough. And that's when I realized she had slipped back into old habits. Later that night, I found out she had sent a picture of me, hair a mess, wrapped in blankets on the couch, to one of her friends. With a caption. It wasn't as brutal as before, but it was the same tone, mocking, belittling, like I was still just a punchline. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. After everything, after her apology, after her so-called redemption arc, she was still doing it. Still laughing at me behind my back. I confronted her immediately, and for the first time in our lives, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't even yell. I just looked at her and said, you don't get another chance. Not with me. She tried to defend herself, of course. It was just one joke. It wasn't that serious. But that's the thing, it was serious. It was always serious. And she never understood that. So I cut her off. Completely. No texts, no calls, no visits. My parents tried to mediate, telling me, she's your sister, you can't just erase her. But I could. And I did. Because at some point, you have to stop setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. It's been over a year now since I last spoke to her. Do I miss her? Sometimes. She's my sister. We shared a childhood, holidays, inside jokes that only siblings get. But do I regret walking away? Not at all. Because here's the truth. Forgiveness is not the same as access. I can forgive her for being cruel, for being careless, for being the kind of person who thought my pain was funny. But I don't have to let her back into my life to hurt me again. And if she ever reads this, I hope she finally understands. Words hurt. Jokes can cut deeper than knives. And when someone tells you they're in pain, you can either choose to be their shelter or their storm. She chose the storm, over and over again. And I'm done standing in the rain.